Shalom and welcome to Questions and Answers with Rabbi Eric T. This week's question comes from a number of people, not just one, and it deals with a subject that's very important yet very misunderstood, especially within the body of Messiah. And that is that periodically we'll see a flow chart or a diagram of some kind that you'll see, and it'll say God on top, and then it'll say man, and then it'll say woman, and then it'll say child, or it'll say God on top, and then it'll say husband, and then it'll say wife, and then it'll say children. And the premise of this diagram is that that's the hierarchy of value or importance or authority in the body of Messiah. In other words, that there's God, and then there's the husband, and then there's the wife, and then there's the child, and that's the direction of the flow of the working of God's Spirit and authority throughout mankind. However, and this is a huge however, that flow chart is wrong because, for instance, a husband can't truly love God if he doesn't first love his wife and his children. A wife can't love her husband unless she loves God and her children. There's an important precept that unless we love God first and then love others, we can't truly love in the direction we're supposed to. And largely this is from, this errant teaching is from Ephesians 5, where we generally start reading from verse 22. And verse 22 says, "Wives, to your own husbands, or submit to your own husbands as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, and Messiah is the head of his community, himself the Savior of the body. But as Messiah's community is submitted to Messiah, so also wives to their husbands. Husbands, love your wives, just as Messiah loved his community and gave himself up for her, to make her holy, having cleansed her by immersion in the word." Now, first I want to remind you that before we get to verse 22, we have to read verse 21. Verse 21 says, "Also submit yourselves one to another out of reverence to Messiah." So husband and wives are commanded first to submit to one another, and then we get to the discussion of wives submitting to their own husbands as unto the Lord. And understand that in this chapter, and what we're talking about here is not a hierarchy of authority, but a hierarchy of responsibility. A wife has a responsibility to her husband, just as a husband has a responsibility to his wife. And we have to understand that the context is, just as Messiah laid himself down for his body, for his bride, so the husband should lay himself down for his bride and his family. This verse and these verses are not telling the husband that he is a king and a monarch who has authority over his family. But this is saying that if you are truly going to be a good husband as Messiah was, that you will lay yourself down, you will set yourself down for your wife and your children. Now, this does not take out of place the reality that God does have a way of husband, wife, and children, and that a husband does have a leadership position in the family. But that leadership position comes from a willingness to submit himself to God so that his wife can then be able to submit herself in the family, and likewise the children. This has nothing to do with importance. It has nothing to do with spirituality. It has nothing to do with a hierarchy of value in the kingdom. This is about understanding that if you're truly going to be great in Messiah, you must seek to be the least. And if you're going to be a good husband, a loving husband to your wife and your children, you must be willing to lay yourself down so that they can be blessed and be strengthened and be loved by God in the way they're supposed to. I hope that this answers your question. If it has, I hope you'll share it with others. And also, if you have a question you'd like me to answer in the future, please email me at RabbiEricT@britam.org. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when a new video comes out, and then share this video with other people. Thank you and shalom.